Hi, welcome to another craft video from the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library. I'm Cheryl and I'm in charge of the craft kits at the main library. And today's video is to accompany a craft kit that we'll be giving out at the main library starting December 15th, 2022. But if you don't have a kit or you're watching this later, you can certainly make this project with items from your local craft store. Today's project is going to be this lovely little ornament, and you'll see it's a wooden ornament. This one happens to be one that you can put a photo in for a family photo to hang up, and this doesn't have to be for Christmas. It can be for any holiday, or you can just have it hanging on the wall with a photo in it. Now, if you don't have one of these photo ornaments, if you're doing this later and don't have one of these photo ornaments, you can just use any regular wooden ornament will do. The same technique will apply to any wooden ornament. Or for that matter, the same techniques will apply to any decorative wooden item for the house. Okay, so in the kit, you will have one of these wooden photo ornaments, and they're in various shapes, so you'll have one of these various shapes. You will also have two colors of craft paint. This is just to give you an option of whatever background color. You should have white, and then a pearlescent white, and one other color. You will have a bottle of decoupage glue. This is brand is Mod Podge, and this is going to be used to glue things on and to seal things. You'll have a couple of brushes, one for your background color paint and one for the Mod Podge, the decoupage glue. You will have two different kinds of washi tape. Now, washi is a decorative low adhesive tape that is positionable, repositionable, and everything. You just start it up like this, and you can tape it down on things and reposition it. This is very useful when you're trying to figure out your design, but it also makes it so that it's not quite permanent, which is one of the reasons why we have the decoupage glue. We're going to be using a thin layer of this before we stick down the washi tape. We also have a small bag of translucent iridescent glitter. And you don't have to use the glitter if you're not a glitter type person. You can just set this aside. If you are, we'll put this on with a layer of decoupage glue on the top. Alright, so let's get started. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take out the little wooden backing that goes with the photo. And we just turn this over and move these to the side, and then this just pops out. Now, when you're trying to get a photo to fit in there, you can use this on your photo and trace around it and then cut it out, and you'll have the right size to put in there and put the backing on. So for right now, we're just going to change that. We're just going to set that aside. Now we're going to do the background color. I'm going to do white on this one. Now, if you have one of the small brushes that will fit in there, you can certainly use that straight. But if you don't, if your brush is too big to fit in there, then you can pour this on like a paper plate or something and then use it. And we're just going to put a thin layer over the whole thing. I can even drip out a little bit of this. It doesn't need to be very thick. If you're using the white, it is a little more translucent, a little more sheer than the regular colors. So you might, if you really want it to be a solid color white, you might want to do two thin coats instead of one. But I kind of like how it just shows through a little bit. And you can do the edges. Okay, that's my background done. So I am going to set this aside for about half an hour or so to let it completely dry, and I'm going to go wash my brush. I'll see you back when this is dry. Okay, so my paint is dry. Now it is time for me to decide what kind of decoration I want. I don't know if I want to go this way or this way. You know what? I think I'm going to want them up and down. So I'm going to just position them here. And don't worry about, you'll be able to remove these, so you can figure out your decisions however you want. Let's take a little striped one here. And I think maybe I want them just that far apart. And don't worry about cutting these off quite yet. You can always do that later. Better to have too much than not enough. You know what, my spacing is not going to be great, so I think I'm going to start them out spacing them that way, and then I want them alternating colors. So let's put this one straight in the center. Okay, I think I like how that's going to be. So now I'm going to glue them down one by one. I'm going to take my decoupage glue and I'm going to just put a little bit on this little plastic. This happens to be a lid for a little plastic takeout bowl, but you can use a paper plate or anything like that. So I'm just going to use a little bit of the glue, and I'm going to take this one off. I'm going to put a little bit of glue underneath it. You don't need to use a whole lot. Just a thin layer is fine. And I'm going to do this one at a time so that I don't forget where my spacing was. I'm going to do the second one. And I'm going to continue on exactly like this. Okay, so I've got them all glued down and my glue is drying. Now I'm going to cut this hole out of the middle, and I'm just going to very carefully snip these. And for the ones on the end, if you have left enough, you can wrap it around and glue the ends down. So I'm going to do that. If not, you can just trim them off right at the edge. But I left enough so I can wrap them around. And I will just put a little bit of glue here on the edge. And I'm just going to go one by one and wrap them around. Now this one in the middle won't work that way because the hook is in the way. So that one I'm just going to have to trim off right at the edge. So I'm going to wrap these around, put a little glue on the end and a little glue here, wrap them around. Now if they're a little short, they might have trouble sticking, in which case you may just have to trim them off. If they do this where they're not sticking, you can hold them down for a second to help them stick. And if that doesn't work, then you can always just trim them off. Alright, so now these ones in the middle, you don't want to just fold them to the back, because see here, this is where your picture and your thing is going to fit down in, and if you build up too much stuff in the middle there, that little backing might not fit. So with the ones in the center, you will have to trim them off. So just gently go around and trim them as carefully as you can. Alrighty. So there's my finished washi tape, and see, this one is lifting up. Okay. Now what I'm going to have to do is, it's still not completely secure. So what I'm going to do is, all across the top, I'm going to put a layer of the decoupage glue, and along here, just to make sure everything's stuck down nicely. You're going to want to do a very thin layer. And I would go in the direction of your washi tape. If you're doing crisscross, then you can do both directions. Just gently brush it and try not to lift up the edges of your tape. I'm going to just put a little bit of layer of glue on top of these, just to make sure they're extra secure. Alright, so there's my little layer. Now, if you're going to be doing the glitter, now is the time to do that while your decoupage glue is still wet. And you don't need much. You just kind of, while it's wet, just sprinkle a little bit of the glitter all over it. And I like to tap it just a little bit to make sure it gets set into the glue. Don't know if you can see that on camera, how that sparkles. And now we're just going to let it set to dry completely for about half an hour or so, and I'm going to go wash my brush. Okay, so it's all dry, and the white decoupage glue has now become clear, and you can see all of the bright shininess and the sparkles. Now it's time to put the picture in. Alright, I've printed off a couple of pictures that might fit, and I've got it sized down here, maybe like that. So we're going to figure out about where we're gonna want our design here. Alrighty, and now I'm going to try and get this as even as I can over that, and lightly trace around the circle. Just took the back of the piece that fits in there. Yeah, that's good enough. Now I'm going to cut just inside where I've drawn the line. Okay. Now I'm going to figure out which way's up. Make sure that fits in. And make sure it's right way up. Then just put the piece in the back and turn the little clamps back inward to hold it in. And there you have your finished ornament. And I'll show you what the other one looks like that I showed you at the very beginning. I added a little bit of glitter to this one and put a little photo in there. So these don't have to be Christmas ornaments. These can be any time of the year ornaments. You don't have to put the glitter on if you don't want to. You can even hang them up and take the pictures and put a Christmas one around the holidays, or Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa, or Diwali, or whatever holiday you celebrate this time of year. And just put a themed picture in here. And then for the spring, maybe you want to change it out for some spring flowers, and then the summer 4th of July picture. So you can have that hanging up all the time and just change out the pictures if you want. And you can even, if you don't like the rustic cord here, you can get a nice pretty fancy ribbon, as long as it's will go through the little eye in the hook up here. So you want to stick to about 1/4 of an inch wide or skinnier, probably, to fit through. And that's the finished project. Thanks for viewing another video from the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library. I'm Cheryl. I'll see you next time. Bye.